about CRUD, which is create, read, update and delete. And every app really is a CRUD app. Even the most sort of touchy-feely mobile app, has a little bit of we need your email address, we need to sell you something. And I spent my career working in an industry which is like full of forms and everybody wants them changing all the time. So I decided in my semi-retirement to write a library to make this a bit easier and get rid of all the CRUD boilerplate. And the library is called Forms Angular. It should probably be called Angular Forms, but there you go. It's open source. It's licensed under the permissive MIT license, and it's based on the mean stack. So that's MongoDB, which is a NoSQL database, Express.js, which is a web application framework, Angular, which is a client-side MVC framework, and is probably the most popular JavaScript thing in the present day, and Node, which is the leading sort of server-side JavaScript platform. All of these products allow you to code in JavaScript, which is great for people of my age, as I'm now officially too old to keep more than one thing in my head at a time. Forms Angular does several things, but the one that's easiest to grasp, because there are lots of other libraries that do it, is to convert a JSON schema, like the one on the slide, into form markup. There's several products that do this in the Ruby and Python worlds, and in the Angular space there's already many. There's Angular Formally, Angular Schema Form, Angular Form 4, and probably others that I'm not aware of. Pretty much all of them, like Forms Angular, convert your JSON schema to markup that looks pretty with Twitter Bootstrap styling. There are some differences, but in general they support various field input types. They provide validation and error messages and help. Very few of them seem to support subschemas, which Forms Angular does, but it doesn't really work all that well if you go down several levels. An exception to that is actually the React one. I know someone's talking about React later. The React one does do subschemas quite well. And this is all implemented in an Angular directive, which means it looks a bit like HTML in your website. If you want to, you can use the form markup generation on its own. But where things start to get interesting is when you add something at the back end using an ORM called MongoDB. So you create a Mongoose schema here, and you add a couple of lines here which registers it with Forms Angular, and you get a bunch of endpoints that allow you to ask Mongoose for the schema and perform your CRUD operation. So, for example, if you register gizmos, as I'm doing then you get an HTTP post to /API/gizmos, which allows you to create a gizmo, and you can read your gizmos and update your gizmos and delete your gizmos. And it only really starts to make sense, though, when you introduce the client-side routes and controllers. And what this gives us is the ability, just by requiring these two modules, a router and Forms Angular itself, to navigate the browser to a route such as /gizmos/new. Oh, this is an animated GIF, but it's not animated. This was going to show you it all working. Wave my arms a lot.
I had that problem in mine.
And anyway, what it does is it goes to the server, says, give me the schema comes back, it generates the form, and then you can fill some data in the form, it writes it, and it does all of the stuff that you'd expect it to. It allows you to update and delete your things, and it provides a listing capability. So it gives you, out of the box, in very few minutes, a little database, which is great for admin pages and stuff like that. The library has several other features, far too many to go into in 5 minutes, but there's time to mention two. There's a directive that you can put search control in your nav bar, which queries the server for documents which match the search string, and gives you a drop down with a customizable description of the documents and links to the form where you can edit them. And there's also the ability at the point of loading the form to add menu items dynamically that relate only to documents in that collection, or indeed to further customise depending on the values within the currently selected document. You'll have noticed that I said customise a couple of times there. The general problem with libraries that try to do so much for you is that they end up restricting the choice that developers make, and I've tried not to do that. And, I think I've succeeded. For instance, you can replace any input control or group of input controls with your own Angular directive, and there are already examples of me having done that, including these here. We've got a sort of funky editor and a date control, and then you can package them, if you're feeling very generous, into plugins that other people can use. And there's 7 of them at the moment, and I'm working on another couple. If you're interested in Forms Angular and you want to give it a run out, the easiest way is to use the Yeoman generator. The instructions are there. And there's more details on the website, and the slides are available. Beer time.